I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago.
Well, hello and welcome to the Homeschool Counseling Network vlog. Today I have with me a special guest, Sharon Jeffus of Visual Manna. Visual Manna is, oh my goodness, I'm not even sure if I can tell you how wonderful this website is. It's it's an art program. You can learn, there are art camps. Sharon has a background where she has taught in public schools. She has traveled everywhere teaching art. She has written over 20 books. She has written curriculum and she has taught art, incorporating it into core subjects all over the nation and traveled all over the nation. So we are excited to have Sharon with us here today. She's also taught AP Literature. Did I get that correct? Or AP English?
Yes, yeah,
Yes. So
art,
art,
AP art.
okay. AP
Yeah,
Art. So she's
yeah.
a little bit of all of it, but she's definitely passionate about her work. And she's here today to talk about the importance of, well, I'll be honest, art is usually something that art and music is usually some of those things that kind of get fallen to the wayside when it comes to homeschooling. It's usually kind of taught as an afterthought if we ever get to it at all. But there's so much power in the creative arts. And I think that they can impact learning and brain development and growth and development so deeply, and academics as well, including math and science. Until I think it's incredibly important that we put more emphasis on teaching the creative arts. So thank you for joining us today, Sharon.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to talk a little bit today about the importance of art and how it should be just a delightful experience. I mean, a lot of homeschool moms and people think, oh no, it's probably what I thought about when I had to teach math. Oh no, I just can't do this. But, they're thinking, oh no, it's art time. What am I going to do? And the idea is that art should be a time, every other subject in generally that children have has to be done a certain way. There's only one answer to a math problem. There's one thing that's correct when you're talking about a sentence and structure and punctuation. There's one date in history, but the delightful thing about art is it's a way that you can be creative, and there's a lot of different ways to get it right. And that's so important for children, especially in the times that we live in, because in my opinion, there's so much visual media coming at young people all the time in all the different ages, that to have the opportunity of pulling that out, an original idea, something that you do away from that, is really tremendously important. I want to talk about younger children first. And younger children, as their, of course, fine motor skills are very, very important. But I think encouraging them, like, even if you just say, oh my word, because a lot of kids, I think sometimes we put our fears in art upon our children, and they're afraid it's not going to be perfect. They're, oh my word, this isn't going to look right. It's not perfect. I can't do this. And I think even if you encourage them in a little small way, that's so important. Like, oh my word, I love the way you use the color green. That's so good. And then they're just going to, with the encouragement, they're going to come back and they're going to do more and they're going to be excited. One of the best lessons I ever gave with younger children, and I use this as an illustration because this is how children are so creative when they're young. I was doing a lesson on seascapes and sea captains, and we were making a sea cap. We were looking at, of course, seascapes by Washington Alston and Winslow Homer, and we were doing little actually little sea captains out of paper towel rolls, and we were gluing the things on, and we were talking about seascapes, and one little boy on his own, he said, look what I did. And he actually turned his sea captain into a telescope. And he said, look, it's a seascape. And he had taken the tissue paper and glued a little seascape. And he was like in first grade. And this is the amazing thing, that if you allow children to have that excitement and that freedom to be creative, it is so good for them. And it's not only good for just the fine motor skills, it's good for it's a catalyst for creativity and invention, original thinking, leadership, decision making. So art is just so much more than just being able to have a project and putting it together. And I know it's very easy for parents to do a prefab little, well, it's just going to look like this. I remember when I started teaching, I would be very upset because I'd go by a public school classroom and you'd have like 20 little projects that were very much the same. They were all made from the
Mm-hmm.
same cut and paste. And it was primarily just we're cutting out, we're pasting this, we're learning this, instead of let's see if we can make this a little different. Let's see about this, let's see about that. Can you do this? And I find that with younger children, especially when you have that approach, they just really love it. Now, when a child gets to be about 7, 8, or 9 years old, they want to know how to make it look real. Before that, representational things are very, it's easy to just let them make circles and squares. And, it's very normal. But they'll say, how do I want this to look real? That's when you introduce perspective and you introduce the very important things in art that will actually help in media that'll make it look more real. And I'm a big believer in looking at master works of art and learning from the masters. I don't
Mm-hmm.
I think that even showing them when they're younger, I mean, I had a class of first graders and the parents said, I took my daughter to the art museum and she knew more paintings than I did, and because every day I would show them a masterwork of art. And even if you just discuss it briefly, children, of course, have a very short attention span. So you can't get into this. You can't go an hour, half hour, even 20 minutes. If you can do a 5-minute, very interesting visual presentation, maybe of one masterwork or two, and discuss it with perhaps a similar theme where they're looking at objects and they can write sentences or they can think of things, just observations. That's going to, I believe, add so much to their foundation and their learning just in everything that they do. Now, when a
Mm-hmm.
student gets older, and I'm a big believer. I think that anointing Bazil was called by God to decorate the temple, and you can read the Bible verse, and he was given the gift and the ability to do it. Oh, I get very emotional when I talk about this because I think God has just anointed a generation of young people that are fabulously gifted and talented that can reach their generation. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not something that I can do at my age, and it's not something that their mom or can do usually. It's something that because they are that age, they are used to the technical things. They're very adept at the computers and that they can put things together in media that will be able to really affect society and affect their own generation. And it is
Mm-hmm.
my belief that they're inundated all the time about with these amazing images. I mean, who doesn't want to watch a whale jump up and then the next thing you see a wolf and then you see, just all kinds of interesting things all the time, and it just captures you where you really don't want to do any thinking on your own. And there's something it's a book that I'm gonna share in my uh, uh, like a verbal presentation. I don't have the exact book, but it's about digital dementia in ages 25 and younger because they have been so inundated. But my belief is these kids that are gifted and anointed, that when they're going to be the ones, and they're so important to develop that talent. And I know with a lot of homeschool parents, you don't really want to you think, oh no, not art. That's a real loser financially. We don't want to do that. Or, there's just reasons why. But if you think about it, we are a visual society. Everything, and to be able to understand the elements and principles of art, the foundations, very important. Even if you have a student that's extremely gifted, if they don't understand the elements and principles of art and discussing them, they're going to be hampered in their art education, in my opinion. I think it's very important. There are scholarships out there. Today, the digital portfolio is the resume of today because you can give it to somebody and it's fabulous. And, this is me doing this. This is what I've accomplished here. This is this, this is this. So putting together a really great digital portfolio and being able to do that Also, when you with writing, just write things down. That's incredibly important, I think, for a young person wanting to succeed in media today. And of course, you have the filming, you have the photography, you have different book illustration, and there's so many different facets to art and the arts today, that you really need to have a very, very strong foundation. And as I say, it's very structured. The elements and principles of art, step by step, putting together an excellent digital portfolio, and just briefly addressing the idea that art is intrinsic in so many things. Very few people know that in science, Leonardo, not only do we have Leonardo da Vinci, that was a scientist artist,
Right.
Robert Fulton was considered the Leonardo da Vinci of America because he was also an artist. Rufus Porter, the founder of Scientific American magazine, was an artist. So many scientists. The first time I saw MC Escher, I was reading a Scientific American magazine because his work is so mathematical and amazing. Raphael's School of Athens. I mean, it's amazing, the science and art, and then you have your literature and art, and you're researching.
Mm-hmm.
I was explaining this to one of my students that. Uh, Jules Verne, incredible writer, and in the 1800s, he was talking about a creature that had all these tendrils and had eyes a foot across. His sea monster, and then in the
Mm-hmm.
19 and then Disney, of course, in the movie created this character that actually had the tendrils and the foot long
Mm-hmm.
eye. But then in the 70s, they discovered the giant squid, and lo and
Right.
behold, you have a creature with an eye a foot across that is 17 feet, but it wasn't discovered when they wrote about it. And there's so many things in literature that are just totally amazing. And math and art, of course, you have triptychs, you have the golden mean, you have the proportions of the face. There's just so many things that you can combine with math and literature and science and English, writing a comic strip, and then with younger kids, syntax, etc.
Yeah.
So art and geography, unbelievable. There's so
Mm-hmm.
many different things, folk art from the different countries, and just so many different ways that you can combine hands-on art with your core subjects, and your visual and kinesthetic learners are just going to
Mm-hmm.
excel with this. They really do love the idea of making things, and they remember. And I always say it's like Dale's Cone of Learning, I think it's called. You remember so much of what you read. And then when you read and look at a picture, how much do you remember? And then when you read and look at a picture and you actually do it, how much do you remember? Like a cake, baking it, reading the
Right.
recipe, looking, and then, making the cake and then teaching it, you really remember so much more. And when my son's homeschooled, we did the solar system that way. We actually read about it, and then they created the solar system, and then they did a presentation to another homeschool family. And so, the idea of creating it, the beautiful planets, remembering it, and then we made a calendar with all of the planets on it. So, doing these visual and kinesthetic things are wonderful. Now there are different learning styles, of course, but your visual and your kinesthetic learners really do excel when you do projects that are involved in art. And so
Well,
if anybody has any questions about,
mhm,
I could go on for days about all of these different subjects, and it's hard to figure out exactly. I could bore
mhm,
people to tears, in fact, because I get really excited about some things that are a little way out there. But if anybody's interested in any more information on these any of these
mhm.
topics, I'd be really thrilled to talk to you about it. Thank you very much, and I do have an online program for older students that is very comprehensive. If you have an older student that you're wanting high school art and you really don't have the time to schedule something in, you can actually do this on your own time. And I'm offering it really reasonably. If you do want me to get involved with it, I can, but it would be more than just $25 for the whole summer. I was going to offer it because you can go into the program, you can listen to the lessons. With each lesson, I have techniques in media so you can turn it on, you can understand actually how to do it and see the samples. At the end, the idea is that you would have about 8 projects that you were really happy with that perhaps you could put in a digital portfolio and show in an art gallery.
Oh my goodness, what you're definitely passionate about what you do, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
did such a beautiful job of really reiterating that art really is can be incorporated into your core subjects and should be,
Yes.
believe it or not. And sometimes it's there, and the more that you were sharing that with us, the more I realized, oh yeah, we don't think about it because it's something that's there, and we almost take it for granted. That it's, the
Right.
beautiful illustrations that we see in our textbooks. Well, someone had to create that and put that there. So, and oftentimes those are the unsung heroes that don't get the credit that they deserve for enriching all of
Exactly.
the other subjects that we have. But it does incorporate it. It's very easy to see now how you can incorporate art, and as you should incorporate art,
Yeah.
into all of the different layers of the subjects and for retention of information and true learning, if you will. But I was looking at your website here, and I'm going to put up here in one of these boxes somewhere up here on this video, you'll see a little bit of a scrolling video of some of Sharon's courses that she's got. And you talked
Mhm,
about the high school course that you've got going on there. I
mhm.
see here we've got an art intern program, an art credit course, you've got art camps, art to
Yeah.
reinforce core subjects package, a master artist tea party package. That just sounds fun. You've got
Oh, it
private
is fun.
lessons and a teacher package.
Mhm.
But tell us also about the art that you've got for the younger children,
Oh,
because you said
yes.
a lot of these are self-paced, and I'm telling you, parents of
Yeah.
children this age, 4 to 8, it's summer. If you run a traditional schedule like we do in the summer for homeschooling, you want to keep them busy, but you never know how your day's going to go. So you said all these are self-paced. Tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
that.
Okay. I wanted to mention this real quickly so that
Sure.
parents can sort of relax, because I remember one of the projects that we did, we made the Great Wall of China and we built it out of mat
Oh,
board scraps, but it looked more like Noah's Ark, so we decided, okay, well, we'll do Noah's Ark. It's okay, if you try to do something
it
and it
is.
isn't perfect like you wanted, be creative, relax. This is art, this is fun. And then they
Yes.
turned it into that. And another thing I remember doing that was really a lot of fun, we replicated one of Da Vinci's inventions of a helicopter, but my son took
Cool.
the bones, he boiled down, this sounds so strange, of a rabbit and a chicken. And then he just got the bones, and then we made a dinosaur, and he put together glue gun
Cool.
and wired this amazing thing together, and he won a science. It was incredible. I actually have a picture of it. It didn't stay together very long. You can imagine, but it was so much fun. And he learned about, this, it was just fun to do. uh, you know, but for little ones, I do have artsy animals, and you were studying, like the master artist would be Rousseau, and Rousseau, of course, did all these wonderful jungle pictures, and of course, at the same time of Rousseau, Tarzan was written, and also the Jungle Book. Around that
Yes,
same
I love
time
Kipling.
period, and of
Yes.
the call of Tarzan. Isn't that fun? And so we talk about some really fun and make very simple little, the monkey, and a mask, a monkey, not, it's a, well, I'm trying to, we do art projects that are very simple and with
Mhm.
sentences like, I saw a squid on a grid, or, like with the ocean,
Fun.
the
Yes.
man of war, the jellyfish, the man of war on the dance floor, and they talk about a jellyfish. And they're really fun, and so
Yes.
kids can get an idea of the different kinds of animals that, they can really have fun with, and they learn about different animals and a little bit of the reading and sentence skills too, so they can do a little bit of writing with it as well. And even like, the one of my favorites is, the Tea by the Sea with Winslow Homer as our artist. And of course, by the sea, by the sea, by the beautiful sea, that song. And then
Mhm.
the projects are really fun because you take a paper plate and do a porthole of a beautiful sunset. And then of course paper dolls at that time were very, very popular, so we talk
Mhm.
about paper dolls. And there's art projects and a little bit of, as I said, children love animals and they love going to the zoo, and so
Mhm.
there's a little bit of that in the projects. And you can choose one and just do that one and have a really fun hour or hour and a half with your kids, and they'll come away with not only learning about an animal, but they'll have a little fun art project where they were able to be
Mhm.
creative. And
Mhm.
they might have heard a little bit of music with it. And of course, the master art, and discussing it and looking at it. Winslow Homer has this really cool picture called the Lifeline. And it's a person, there's a storm and a lifeline. And you can even tie that in with Jesus as our lifeline, and there's
Mhm.
different masterworks of art that you can actually tie in with as a Christian witness if you choose to.
Mhm.
And I have, so the lessons are set up that you don't have to do the whole thing, but it will
Mhm.
take you maybe at least an hour to do some of the things. And it's fun things having to do with um, just different things in art, like animals of the Ozarks. And we talk about
Mhm.
buzzards and possums and things that you see in the
Fun.
Ozarks and how much fun they really are. And then I have a little sloth. It's really sweet. I have a video, and you learn how to draw a sloth and do a couple projects, but it teaches kindness because sloths are so
Mhm.
slow. And
Oh.
he meets a turtle named Tim. In fact, I'll send it to you. And Tim tells him how wonderful it is to be slow because you can really help people around and you can really notice things that other people don't see. And so he explains it to him how wonderful it can be to be slow. And then, his conclusion is, I'm just going to be me. I'm really happy and I'm a sloth and I'm slow. They say sloths are so slow that moth grows on their backs. They're so slow. And so it's just an idea of, so you're slow. And there's a little bat from a dark place, and he has a little beautiful bird flies into the cave accidentally, and then just tells him how there's such pretty things in there. And it's a little bit of things about things you could see in caves. And I don't want to go into too much detail because
Sure.
I don't want to, but I mean
You want to give it away.
there's fun. Yeah, and you could actually go at your own pace.
Yeah.
You can choose and pick, and you don't have to do it a certain way, but you might think, oh my word, this seems fun for today. And so there's just so many fun things that you can choose. And even for an hour and a half, it's a fun thing to do. And especially the tea parties are really fun,
Mhm.
and just the little art things. And like the animals are in different habitats. There's the rainforest and the desert and the sky, and then the sea, and then animals around the house. And then of course just there's animals. We go through the art museum, and we go through animals in the art museum. It's really
Oh, I
interesting
love
too.
that.
But anyway, so there's just a conglomeration of different things that if you have
Mhm.
little ones, you'll probably really enjoy the choices and things that you can do. The high school is very structured with
Okay.
lesson upon lesson and the projects.
Mhm.
The younger is just, it's this is the level, and you can choose what you want as far as topics concerned. You might be going to the ocean, and you might think, oh, this would be fun,
Right.
or going to the mountains, and this might be fun to do.
Or you might have a child that's just something that they're interested in. So, everything's
Yeah.
all mountains at that time, or everything's all ocean at that time.
Yes.
But more than just the core subjects that you're incorporating in that, from anywhere from geography to science to biomes, I'm just counting all of the different subjects that
Hmm.
the children are learning and that you're teaching, and they don't even realize they're learning it because they're having fun. But the biggest one
Exactly.
too that I heard from that speaks to my heart is a therapist was the character education, pouring
Yeah.
into your children
Yeah.
those values that is so
Yeah.
important at
Totally.
at that crucial stage of development.
Yeah.
That is when you're really laying that foundation. And oh my goodness, and
Absolutely.
you're doing
Yes.
it with fun and with art, with creativity, and they don't even know they're learning. They're just having fun.
Yeah. One of my favorites is about Bard Buzzard, and of course he had such an ugly nose. He was so embarrassed. He'd have to wear a wig from his head to his toes. He was so, and he met Ann Eagle, who showed him how, you know,
Mhm.
that he loved him inside. I want to be your friend, and it changed. It's just so sweet because, and you can show that, and children love animals, and they can really
Yeah.
birds, and they can really relate to that on a level that we all want to be kind. Kindness is so important and encouraging.
It is, and it lays that foundation. So you're pouring into your
Yes,
children, which is one of the reason we homeschool anyway. We want
yes,
that relationship with our children. We want them with us. I've known for saying that
yes,
if regardless of anything else that I teach my son, the one thing that's the most important to me above all, which is the three things that we homeschool, the main reasons for are faith, family, and freedom. Those are our
yes,
main things, but relationship is the main
yes,
reason that we homeschool. This is going to nurture that relationship
yes,
with your child.
absolutely. And art is so important for that. I mean, that the camaraderie that you get as a teacher with your child. My daughter-in-law was so wonderful. Ellie had made my little granddaughter had made cards. I could have about cried when I saw them. They were so sweet. But she made cards for her teacher. She was so excited. They had hearts and butterflies, and oh my
Aw.
word, they were so precious. And giving it to her teacher, because it meant so
Mhm.
much to her to create something pretty for her teacher. And oh my word, children, they love that. That's a gift. When
Mhm.
when a child gives you a picture of something they have done or created, it's such a gift. It's so
Oh,
special
yes.
to them and can be so, you just can't say enough good about it because it helps their self-image and encourages
Mhm.
them. And the more that positive that you be, then the better they become because they get
Mhm.
confidence. And that confidence
Oh,
to
yeah.
be independent and creative is huge for them.
Oh, yes. It absolutely is, especially if you have a child with learning differences like I do. I have a
Yeah.
son who has
Mm-hmm.
dysgraphia and he has dyslexia. I mean, I'm sorry, he has
Mm-hmm.
dyspraxia, which is, if you know anything about that learning disability, it's where, kind of like playing telephone, a message may go from the brain and that may not get to the muscles or what have you. So it has to do with motor planning. So for him, he did not like enjoy drawing as a child, not whatsoever, because it was difficult
Mm-hmm.
for him to learn to do so. So the fact that he's gained confidence over the years just from doing it, from us just saying, art, you cannot make a mistake with art. Just get out there and
Exactly.
do it. Now I wish I could almost show you. I'll have to film a little bit up here where I've got a video where it's a homeschool room tour of my classroom that we have here at home. I've
I
got
would
on
love
top of one of
that.
my bookshelves up here every little piece of art that he's ever made me, because if he's made it, it's all the more precious to me. That, and I have an
Oh,
only child, so
yes.
of course I keep everything. It's ridiculous. I'm almost a hoarder. I
Uh,
keep everything that he makes because I know he it was a little bit harder for him to do it and he had to go that extra step to do it.
exactly.
But yes, pouring into your children and showing them, letting them have that pride in what they've created and making it their own. Like we were talking about
Exactly.
earlier off camera, coloring books are great to practice the fine motor,
Yeah.
but having that blank slate in front of them to literally create
Yes.
encourages their imagination. And
Yeah.
that's such a powerful gift because that's going to pour into problem solving and creative
Yes.
thinking as they get older when you nurture it from a young age.
Yes. Exactly. And I think they know that. They know when you're
Mhm.
complimenting a picture they colored, or a picture that they actually, or something they actually created on their own. And that's what they feel
Mhm.
so happy about, that they did this all
Mhm.
by themselves for you or for,
Yeah.
and it's just such a blessing to them. And every time they do
Mhm.
it, when you encourage them, they get more excited and they do it better and they gain confidence. And,
Yes, they do.
that's so important. Absolutely.
It absolutely is. Well, Sharon, I thank you so much for taking the time out of your day
Oh,
to come in
yes.
and share with us what you've got going on at Visual Mana. And it sounds like some really, really exciting opportunities here for if you're intimidated like I am to teach art at home. I outsource for this. I'll be the first to admit. I enjoy it. I read art history. We study the classics. We visit museums all the time. But when it comes to teaching technique and knowing all the things of all the things that you should know, I outsource for that. I'll be honest. That's okay.
I
For music
understand.
as well, because I play the radio and that's it. That is it. That's all I ever learned to play. But the point is, it make it a priority. Make it a
Yeah.
priority, not a last thought and not an afterthought. And the way you can do that is to incorporate it in with all of your other subjects. And it really does incorporate um, really fluid. It's very fluid that you can incorporate art into all of the subjects. You've just
Yes.
shared multiple examples of that. So if you would like to learn more about where you can find Sharon and where you can find her subjects and what she's teaching, please visit visualmanna.wordpress.com, and I'll put some links below as well in the description box, and you can find all about her courses and her self-paced courses. And if you would like to reach out to her for either, I'm not sure, are you still doing public speaking, or are you
Well,
on a
I
break from
am,
that
I
right
to
now?
a degree, to a
Okay,
degree, yes. And I'm actually building a new blog, and I'll give you I actually have the course where you can actually click on it now. I finally am doing that, and I'll give you that information as well. And I
cool.
wanted to show if I could share a real quick story. It's real quick,
Sure.
but I
Yes.
remember reading this one story, and it was just so terrific. And this mother, a young woman, had won all these awards, and as an art teacher with children that were challenged, and just her mother got up and said, well, I'll tell you something, and I can really take credit for this. She said, I had a book by Leonardo da Vinci on my coffee table, and when my little one was about 4 years old, she took an orange crayon and she colored page after page, and she goes, I was just horrified. And I said, well, you can have that book now. You take that book. And she said, my daughter took it to her toy box, and whenever we wanted to read, she would get that book because she would want to go through a picture by. This is what she said, and she said yes, and she's been very, very successful today. And I want to take the credit because she said I did give her first art book, even though I didn't mean to. I did show her those master works, and so it was really cute. When I can't remember exactly the details, but it's so true with little ones. Even if you
Mm-hmm,
don't spend much time, show them the master works and talk about it. So
mm-hmm.
wonderful.
Yes, it just gives them that little bit of foundation, that
It
little bit of
certainly
foundation.
does. Thank you so
Well, thank you.
much.
You're welcome, and thank you for being here today.
Yes, thank you.
Sharon, thank you so much for taking the time to come on with the Homeschool Counseling Network and for being a member of the Homeschool Counseling Network to share all of the wonderful courses that you've got, from teaching kids from preschool all the way up through high school, and even preparing them for college courses, or even, possibly a career in the arts. Sharon actually has on homeschoolcounselingnetwork.com an article where it talks about the importance of a visual portfolio. We touched on that just a little bit in the blog post here today, but if you want to learn more about what a visual portfolio is and why you need one and why it can help your student get into college, it is your digital resume, if you will. Please visit the homeschoolcounselingnetwork.com and search for our blog, where you can find Sharon's post there. If you want to find Sharon's courses, visit her website at visualmanna.wordpress.com. And thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.
Okay.